A well-informed public is America's greatest security.
The Mutual Broadcasting System, in cooperation with the editors of Newsweek magazine, who believe that a well-informed public is America's greatest security, presents You Make the News, a dramatic analysis of what's behind today's news and what's to be expected in tomorrow's.
I've got the Depression prosperity blues, lots of money in the bank, but I can't buy a car. I'm rich, I'm poor, the great white way is browned out.
Yes, last week the nation found itself gripped by the most fantastic economic plague in its history. Saved up consumer purchasing power had never been so large, consumer goods never so scarce. Our economy had taken on symptoms both of the boom of the late 20s and the depression of the early 30s, all at the same time. The grim facts of this synthetic depression were:
a substantial part of basic industry shut down or closing.
Upwards of 2 million persons newly unemployed.
Railroad passenger schedules cut 25%.
Chicago offices lighted by candles. New York and other cities browned out.
Business and wage losses running into the millions every day.
And the primary cause of all this was the refusal of a labor leader, John L. Lewis, and a handful of coal operators to agree on a new work contract that would end a 6-week-old soft coal strike. The operators have been reported willing to pay a wage increase in line with that granted in other basic industries, but Lewis refused to discuss wages until his primary demand was met: a health and welfare fund to be financed by a royalty on every ton of coal mined and to be controlled by the union. After weeks of negotiations, Lewis suddenly took the floor to trumpet at the startled operators.
Gentlemen, we attended these meetings when you fixed the hour and departed when weariness affected your pleasure. When we emphasized the importance of life, you pleaded the priority of profits. When we spoke of children in unkempt surroundings, you said, look to the state. You profess annoyance at our temerity. We condemn your imbecility. You scorn the toils, the abstinence, the perils of the miner. We withhold approval of your luxurious mode of life and the nights you spend in merriment. No, gentlemen, to argue further is futile. We trust that time, as it shrinks your purse, may modify your niggardly and antisocial propensities. Good day, gentlemen.
Commentating on the Lewis strategy in the soft coal strike, a representative of the coal operators had this to say:
the right of any labor organization to stall and play politics when a basic American industry is shut down is challenged by the operators. And they do not believe that collective bargaining consists of blindly accepting so-called principles arbitrarily laid down by Mr. Lewis and his union.
Whatever might be said about Lewis's bewildering approach to collective bargaining, there is one point on which he is undoubtedly correct. The perils of the miner to which he referred are real.
Oh, my liver and my lungs, my lights and my legs, they're paining me, they're paining me. There is naught but hardship everywhere, as on through life I go.
The United States Bureau of Mines figures show that in 14 years, more than 17,000 miners were killed on the job, and over 850,000 injured.
There is naught but hardship everywhere, as down the mines I go.
And if the public has no love for John L. Lewis, his own men, by and large, appear to have faith in him and in his own peculiar methods. Recently, a reporter assigned to get their side of the story went to one of western Pennsylvania's sprawling mining towns. She walked to the door of a shabby frame house.
Yes,
You're John Kovacs.
that's right.
I'm doing a story on the strike for my paper. I'd like to talk to you.
Reporter, huh? You won't have anything good to say about us? Well, come in anyway. I got plenty of time.
Thank you.
Come in here, miss. But
What's wrong?
asthma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We call it miner's asthma.
Are you taking care of it?
Now, this company doesn't take care of us when we get sick on the job. That's why John Lewis wants that welfare fund.
And you think Lewis is going about getting it the right way?
He knows what he wants, and he knows how to get it.
But you'll have to admit he turns most of the company against the miners in the process.
He's a hard man.
And you're all behind him?
Look, miss, I started out making $14 a week. Lewis has got wages raised to $63.50 a week. Now, is there any reason why we shouldn't support
All
it?
right, but...
And we get vacations and a 35-hour week.
And the men hadn't got anything against the way he operates?
Well, there's a lot of us don't like some of the things he does. Some even call him a dictator, and worse. But you got to respect the way he figures things out. And he's got plenty of courage.
And you think you'll win this strike?
The strike is just and reasonable. We'll stick it out with John L. and win.
Mm-hmm. About that health and welfare fund, I've heard that Lewis is simply trying to build up a political slush fund.
No, miss. The welfare fund is for the widows and orphans. It's for men who get hurt or can't work. It's got to be. That's what a welfare fund is for.
And you don't think that it would be misused?
I'm not worried, miss. You put this in your paper. We want this welfare fund. There's too many men get killed. Too many hurt. Ain't it about time something was done?
Crushed by the days of endless toil and sleepless nights of woe.
Yes, as President Truman has indicated, at least on the score of health and welfare, the miners have a case. If John L. Lewis's tactics seem badly designed to get that case a public hearing, it's not likely he'll mend his ways at this late date. His career has been marked by violence from the beginning. Newsweek reports a typical incident in his stormy life which took place 40 years ago. In the black depths of a western mine, Lewis was having trouble with a vicious mule named Spanish Pete.
Whoa! Whoa there!
Better watch him, John. He's a bad actor.
Whoa there, confound you!
Look out! He will kick your brains out.
Willie, hand me that club.
Yes. Here. What are you going to do?
I'm going to fix him.
Hey, you knock his brains out. That's not so good. When they find a dead mule, they will fire you, brother.
You think so? Here, a few handfuls of clay rubbed onto his head, and he'll look as good as new. There. See what I mean?
Yes, but wait until the foreman sees what you've done.
What's the matter with you? I'll just tell him Spanish Pete died of heart failure.
In the 40 years since that encounter, Lewis has never hesitated to resort to violence to win an argument. In an unruly convention of the United Miners in the 1920s, John L. Lewis stood on the speaker's platform, thrust out his chest, and...
Silence! Shut up, you! Silence! There are any delegates who feel inclined to insult the chairman, let them step up here on the platform and try it.
No one did. Then at another meeting, he roared at a man who later became one of his most loyal supporters.
You there! Take that gun out of your pocket, or I'll ram it down your throat.
The delegate meekly obeyed. And later, in 1935, he unhesitatingly knocked to the floor Big Bill Hutchison, General President of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners, when Hutchinson incautiously referred to him in coarse and unprintable terms. Then, last week, with the nation's economy uncomfortably close to collapse, John L. Lewis relented. He announced that the miners would return to work for 2 weeks. But this truce offered only limited relief. Lewis had not changed. In making the announcement of the truce, he ended with a typical flourish. He informed the desperately waiting nation,
This action is the contribution of the United Mine Workers of America to our nation's economy, which is being imperiled by the stupidity and selfish greed of the coal operators and associated financial interests, and by demagogues who have tried to lash the public mind into a state of hysteria, rather than grant justice and fair treatment to the men who mine the nation's coal.
Oh, the coal doesn't burn while everyone fiddles, and Johnny Q. Public is caught in the middle.
Yes, there are 2 million unemployed as a result of the shutdown of the coal mines. As John B. Love points out in Newsweek, we are confronted by the paradoxical situation of a synthetic depression in the midst of plenty.
Just a minute, Bud.
Huh?
I don't like to interrupt this now fancy talk of yours, see, but a lot depends on what kind of colored glasses you're wearing.
Colored glasses?
Yeah. Mine are strictly from rose color.
Would you mind telling me who you are?
Well, I'm just a character that hangs around Broadway and other places. My friends call me the Duke. So do my enemies, so it don't make much difference where you sit.
All right, Duke. What's all this about colored glasses?
Well, I hear you giving out this line about a depression. Me, I have to keep pinching myself these days to be sure I'm awake. Incidentally, the reason I'm wearing this shirt with the pin stripes ain't on account of you can't buy a white shirt. I happen to like it.
I see. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to find out about the glasses, remember?
Oh, yeah. You talk about a depression. 2 weeks ago, I'm at Churchill Downs. They're running the Derby, which is pronounced Derby if you come from the other side of the tracks. The other side from me, I mean.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Over $1 million is bet on that one race alone, which sets a new world's record. That don't sound like no depression to me, especially since I have $50 on a nag named Assault, which wins by 8 lengths, which gets me back roughly 450 clams for my 50.
Mm-mm.
Catch on about the colored glasses? Life is wonderful.
Yeah, it does sound as though the people in the racing business are doing all right.
Well, last Saturday, they shift from Louisville to Baltimore to run the Preakness. The Derby is called the Run for the Roses. The Preakness, the Run for the Black-Eyed Susans, which is really dyed daisies. The horsemen shift from Bourbon to Rye, and they sing Maryland, My Maryland, instead of My Old Kentucky Home. But the scenario goes about the same. The horses come to the gate. I ain't betting on Assault this time on account of you got to put up 5 clams to get yourself 3 back. It ain't any skin off my nose, but my blood pressure stays up just the same. Since there ain't any dough involved, I am now a horseman watching a horse. Like in Kentucky, this Assault starts kind of slow from the gate. He's in the ruck until they hit the stretch, and then he starts coming. He pulls into a 3-length lead, and it looks like he's in. A nag called Lord Boswell starts to push him a little, and the jockey on Assault lays on with the bat. For a minute, I think Assault is going to jump into the bleachers. He just does manage to nose out Lord Boswell. You talk about depression? This Assault collects, get this, $195,000 for winning them 2 races.
Mm-mm. Well, those certainly aren't poorhouse figures.
Maybe there's a kind of inflation in it, though, at that.
Huh?
You see, Assault's pappy, Bold Venture, won them same 2 races 10 years ago and only collects 65 G's for the both of them. But me, my glasses is strictly rose-colored.
Oh, the races, they're played by the masses while depressions make passes at rose-colored glasses.
Well, the Duke isn't far wrong. Certainly anyone looking at the sports picture in America today can see no symptoms of depression. Although the baseball season is scarcely a month old, something like an attendance record for 3 games was set at the Yankee Stadium this week in a hot series between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. More than 175,000 people paid their money to see those 3 games in spite of threatening weather.
Oh, take me out to the ball game. Oh, take me out to the ball game.
Meanwhile, in the background, emissaries of the Mexican League are offering astronomical figures to American ball players